Hello, this is Pastor Roland. Today I want to talk about contemplative prayer. I happen to believe that could be just what you need. It could be just what you need. Okay? So let's talk about it. There's a long tradition of contemplative prayer. In fact, some of the most wonderful spiritual writers, Christian mystics, people like Teresa of Avila, Madame Jeanne Guyon, uh, Miguel de Molinos, people like that, St. John of the Cross, and many others held contemplative prayer in very high regard. And so I want to talk about it very briefly, just as by way of introduction to me and to contemplative prayer. I want to read something to you very quickly. All I'm going to do is read this title. This book here is called The Spiritual Guide by Miguel de Molinos. He lived in the 1600s. And many of you are familiar with this book, The Spiritual Guide. It's a Christian classic. Okay? It's a spiritual classic. But here you're familiar with the title, The Spiritual Guide. But listen to the whole title. It's beautifully translated. Beautifully translated. This book here was published in like 1907, I think, from the original, which was published in the 1600s. It was originally written in Italian. So listen to the title of this book. It's about he talks about meditative prayer and contemplative prayer. Basically, he's talking about how to get closer to God, how to experience the presence of God. Okay? It's called The Spiritual Guide, which disentangles the soul and brings it to the inward way in the fruition of perfect contemplation and the rich treasure of internal peace. Let me read it again. The spiritual guide which disentangles the soul and brings it to the inward way by the fruition of perfect contemplation and the rich treasure of internal peace. Okay? The soul becomes entangled in what? In thoughts, in worries, in doubts, in fears, in planning for the future, reliving the past, okay, planning and scheming. Not to mention the soul becomes entangled in the things of the world. Christ talked about that when he talked about the parable of the sower of the seed. Okay, which maybe next lecture I'll talk about that. But I just want you to see that the soul becomes entangled, especially in thought stuff. Okay? So that's why studying religion is actually a dangerous thing. Those of us who love spiritual writings, it's fine for us to read them and to appreciate them and to glean gems from them, or mainly for them to awaken us. See, to awaken you. If something that you read awakens you to see, to realize, to have an aha moment, to have an epiphany, to understand, oh, I see, or awakens you to something, reminds you of something that you already knew. See, a lot of times we need to be reminded, don't we? You get all caught up in worrying about this and planning about that, and then all of a sudden something happens, an issue with your child or your partner or a friend of yours who's, maybe gets hurt, something like that, and then all of a sudden you remember that the best things in life are not things. Okay, you've heard that expression, the best things in life are not things. It awakens you to remember what you already knew in your heart. That things like love and kindness and concern and caring, and those things are much more important than all the little things that we rush after, the distractions. Okay? So anyway, you got the idea. The soul becomes entangled. So today I want to quickly focus on entangled in thought stuff. So then the question is, how do you become disentangled from thought stuff? Well, there's a very easy way. There's an easy method or technology to help you. Okay, whether you do or not, see, it will be a struggle of sorts, but a struggle that won't involve effort or will. It's just a resolve to know what is a resolve to want to know what is true, and to yearn for what is good and what is true. Okay, and not to lean on your own understanding. Doesn't it say in Proverbs, lean not on your own understanding? So what helps you is actually a meditation. And I call it the prayer meditation. It's very beautiful. It's very simple. You can learn it in 5 minutes. And it helps you to mentally stand back from thought. Okay? So you're no longer lost in the thought. Now you become the observer of thought. And when the soul is objective, when it stands back from thought, okay, the thoughts are still there, but you're no longer entangled in them. Now you're observing them. Okay? You're the observer of thought. Now the soul is closer to God, and the soul is free to realize. See, when you're lost in thinking, you won't realize anything. When you're lost in planning and scheming, you can't realize. Okay? You actually fall further from God. You fall away from God. Remember in the Garden of Eden. See, I'm giving you a lot in a nutshell. I've written books on the subject. You should get some of my books. In the Garden of Eden, Adam chose what? Knowledge. And he turned his back on what? On intuition. See, which was like, Adam had a wordless communication with the Father. It was wordless. Just like a mother who comes to her little babe. Words don't have to be spoken. When the little babe cries, the mother knows what the little baby needs. Okay? So Adam was close to God, and he chose knowledge. He was ambitious. He wanted to try it on his own with knowledge. So that's what we inherit. We inherit a fallen body, okay, and a fallen nature like Adam left to us. And then we tend to get lost in thinking. Now the trouble is that the whole world also, everywhere you go, they say study, study, study. Right? Study, 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 study. Concentrate, focus, study. So they encourage a process of getting lost in thinking. But someone like Albert Einstein comes along, and he talked about intuition. Did you know that? I wrote a book called A Weekend with Einstein and Augustine. Very beautiful book. And in the first few chapters, I talk about how important intuition was to Albert Einstein. He realized things intuitively, and then he did the math. Then he thought about them. Then he explained them with words. But it came from a wordless realization. Okay, so that's what you need to get back to, a wordless realization. Okay, and that's why many of the mystics talk about stillness. Many of the mystics talk about stillness. See, whereby you can become attuned to and sensitive to the delicate promptings of of God by way of your intuition. Okay, inwardly. Okay, so now you can see that why it might be good to try my meditation. It's free. The prayer meditation is free. Absolutely free. So you could give it a try. Okay? Now some people find me somehow. They tried the meditation. I have other meditations. They're all good. But right now I'm just going to mention the prayer meditation, or I also call it the easy meditation. But I'll say prayer meditation, because it's easy, it's quick, it's simple, and it's free. You can try it. Now, if you get started with the meditation and you feel that it helps you on your spiritual journey, on your on your walk with God, it helps you to get out of the thinking in which you've become entangled, and the worries and the fears and the doubts. Can you see how the doubt thoughts are there to tempt you? There they are. But if you stand back from them and observe them, okay, then you realize they're not even your thoughts. They're just empty thoughts. There they are. Who knows where they came from? You don't have to believe them or disbelieve them. Just observe them. See how the soul is safe, closer to God, and observes things in the light, in God's light. So anyway, the very simple prayer meditation, you can learn it in 5 minutes. Practice it 3 times a day, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at lunch, 5 minutes in the evening. Then you go out in the world and you'll have that meditative space with you, that meditative stance, that meditative frame of mind. And then, if you need any additional help, or you get stuck, or you have a question, or you would like a little explanation of something, then you can contact me, okay, through Live Person, or Presto Experts, they call them now. So you can chat with me by live chat, texting chat. Or you could get in touch with me somehow. So the email answers are available. Live chat is available. Even Skype by special arrangement. These are possibilities, okay? If you need a little extra help, a little extra guidance, a little something, okay? So there you have it.